Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala at the very outset of His Quran tells us and really gives us the fundamental foundation of our existence when He says to the angels, وَإِذْ قَالَ رَبُّكَ لِلْمَلَائِكَةِ إِنِّي جَاعِلٌ فِي الْأَرْضِ خَلِيفَةً. I'm going to place in the earth a Khalifa. And Khalifa is somebody who stands in place of another. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put the human being on the planet and put him as a steward, a vicegerent, somebody who's there to maintain the creation. And Raghib, he says that there are three fundamental purposes. The first one is obviously ibadah, مَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنسَ وَالْإِنَّ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. And then the second one is istimar. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created us, أَنْشَأَكُمْ وَاسْتَعْمَرَكُمْ فِيهَا. He created you and then He put you in the earth to do umran, to actually cultivate civilization, all those things that make us human, as opposed to the animals. The animals have their hunting, they hunt for their food, they store food, they build, some of them build extraordinary houses like the Bayt al-Ankabut, the house of the spider, the anthill, which is an amazing kingdom. But the human being is unique amongst the creatures. There's no other creature on this planet like us. And in that way, Allah has differentiated us from the human beings, from the animals. So this is important to remember. People now, they say, oh, we're just animals. There aren't any animals that are discussing Cantor's theories on actual infinities. There aren't any animals that are traveling in the earth to explore the previous civilizations. Animals don't do these things. This is what human beings do. There's no animal stupid enough to climb Mount Everest. So human beings do stupid things as well. You know, the native peoples there never climbed Mount Everest until they got paid money to go up with Europeans. And somebody asked the first man, why'd you do that? He said, because it was there. Ridiculous. I mean, there's not even oxygen up there. It was an indication that human beings aren't meant to go up. They're meant to be in awe of it, to look at it and be in awe. Like the ocean. In West Africa, the West Africans traditionally did not swim in the ocean. Mauritanians would never swim in the ocean. They would think that you were insane because the ocean is there to be in awe of. So they would go fish on a boat, but to go swim in the ocean, they would say, no, that's for, like the ocean that they swim in is the ocean of knowledge. Like the poet who said, العلم بحر بغوص الماهرين به تلف اليواقيت فيه والمراجين لكنه غير مأمون تماسحه وليس في كل موج فيه دلفين. That knowledge is an ocean, and those who dive into that ocean will find pearls and coral and wondrous things, but it's not safe from its predators, and you won't find in every wave a dolphin. The Arabs loved the dolphin, dolphin. In Mukhtar al-Sihah, Al-Razi says, dukhas, ويقال له dolphin. And he says, dabbatun bahariya, tunji al-ghariq. That it will save you, tumakkinuhu min dhahriha. It will save a drowning man by putting it on its back and taking it to safety. So the dolphin was an honored animal. So Allah, at the outset of His book, He says, إِنِّي جَعِلٌ فِي الْأَرْضِ خَلِيفَةً قَالَ تَجْعَلُ فِيهِ مَنْ يُفْسِدُ فِيهَا وَيُسْفِكُ الدِّمَاءَ. Are you going to put in it مَنْ يُفْسِدُ فِيهَا وَيُسْفِكُ الدِّمَاءَ وَنَحْنُ نُسَبِّحُ بِحَمْدِكَ وَنُقَدِّسُ لَكَ. Are you going to put in the earth one who sows corruption and sheds blood? Some say that this was al-hin wal-bin, the people that were here before the humans, and they were sowing corruption. So are you going to give another group free will and let them sow corruption? And we are praising you. We're here praising you. نُقَدِّسُ نُسَبِّحُكَ وَنُقَدِّسُ لَكَ نُسَبِّحُ بِحَمْدِكَ. We glorify you with praise, and we maintain your transcendence, your holiness. Allah says, إِنِّي أَعْلَمُ مَا لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. This is the first important note. إِنِّي أَعْلَمُ مَا لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. I know what you do not know. I know what you do not know. And then he says, وَعَلَّمَ آدَمَ الْأَسْمَاءَ كُلَّهَا. He taught Adam all of the names. ثُمَّ عَرَضَهُمْ عَلَى الْمَلَائِكَةِ فَقَالَ أَنْبِئُونِي بِأَسْمَاءِ هَؤُلَاءِ إِن كُنتُمْ صَادِقِينَ. Tell me the names of these things. Tell me the names of these things if you're telling the truth. سُبْحَانَكَ لَا عِلْمَ لَنَا إِلَّا مَا عَلَّمْتَنَا. Look how many times that the knowledge in these ayahs, these few ayahs at the outset of the Quran, how many times knowledge is in these verses. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says He taught Adam the names. Fakhruddin al-Razi said He gave him the ability to abstract the universal from the particular. He could see the one in the many. He could see all animals in the one animal. He could see all camels in the one camel. He could see all dogs in the one dog. He could see all birds in the one bird. Because He is muwahid. He's the one that makes everything one, including his Lord. So Adam is given this knowledge, and then the angels say, we don't have any knowledge except what you taught us. وَقَالَ يَا آدَمُ وَأَنْبِئْهُمْ بِأَسْمَائِهِمْ إِن كُنتُمْ فَلَمَّا أَنْبَأَهُمْ بِأَسْمَائِهِمْ قَالُوا سُبْحَانَكَ لَا عِلْمَ لَنَا إِلَّا مَا عَلَّمْتَنَا. Then He told Adam, tell them the names that I taught you. And then he told them, and they said, you have the knowledge. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells them, didn't I tell you? إِنِّي أَعْلَمُ غَيْبَ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ وَأَعْلَمُ مَا تُبْدُونَ وَمَا كُنْتُمْ تَكْتُمُونَ. Didn't I tell you I know? Again, أَعْلَمُ. Just look at all the ilm there. So this deen, the essence of this religion is knowledge. This essence of the religion, it's knowledge. The Prophet ﷺ said, إِنَّمَا بُعِثْتُ مُعَلِّمًا. I was sent only as a teacher. I was sent only as a teacher. He came into the masjid in a hadith that's related, and there were two circles. One was doing tasbih and tadhkir, and another was studying the Quran. He sat with the ones they were studying. He sat with the ones studying. The Prophet ﷺ said, الدنيا ملعونة وملعون فيها إلا ذكر الله وما والاه وعالما أو متعلما. This whole world is essentially worthless except for two things: the remembrance of Allah and what supports that remembrance. And Imam Nawawi says, ta'atuhu, it's his obedience, the obedience to Allah. The remembrance of Allah and obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then he says, وَعَالِمًا أَوْ مُتَعَلِّمًا, a scholar or a learned person and a student. A scholar and a student. So he put these two things together, dhikrullah, وَعَالِمًا وَمُتَعَلِّمًا. Now, majalis al-dhikr, according to there's a hadith, if you pass by إِذَا مَرَتُمْ بِرِيَاضَ الْجَنَّةِ فَارْتَعُوا, if you pass by the gardens of paradise, take some repose in them. And they asked him what they were, and he said, حِلُقَ الذِّكْر. They are the circles of dhikr. All of the early salaf said those were the circles of halal and haram. Learning your deen. Learning your deen. Those were the circles that the Prophet ﷺ sat in. إِنَّمَا بُعِثْتُ مُعَلِّمًا. He's a mudhakkir. وَذَكِّرْ فِإِنَّ الذِّكْرَ تَنْفَعَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ. Remind people to remember God. The Prophet ﷺ told us to remember God. كَانَ يَذْكُرُ اللَّهَ فِي كُلِّ أَحْيَانِهِ. He remembered Allah in all his states. So dhikr is important. But what is dhikr? Dhikr is the remembrance of your Lord. It's the remembrance of your Lord. And the way that you best remember your Lord is with knowledge of your Lord. Because the Prophet ﷺ said that فَضَلَ الْعَالَمَ عَلَى الْعَابِدِ كَفَضَلَ الْقَمَرِ لَيْلَةَ الْبَدْرِ عَلَى سَائِرَ الْكَوَاكِبِ. The preference of a scholar over a devotee, somebody who's doing dhikr and prayers and things like this, is like the preference of the light of the moon in relation to the other lights on a full moon night. In another riwayah, he said, كَفَضْلِ عَلَى أَدْنَاكُمْ, like the preference of me over the least of you. That's the preference. إِنَّ فَقِيهًا وَاحِدًا أَشَدُّ عَلَى الشَّيْطَانِ مِنْ أَلْفِ عَابِدٍ. One faqih, somebody who really understands this religion, is more ferocious, is more fierce against shaitan than 1,000 devotees. Ibn al-Jawzi in his book Sayd al-Khatar, he says, min kiyad al-shaitan, from the machinations of shaitan, أنه شغل الناس بالعبادة عن التعلم. He preoccupied people with devotion over study. He says that's one of shaitan's goals, to preoccupy people with devotion over study.